Hi there, it's Ala from Modelur, and in this starter video I'm going to walk you through the basics of how Modelur can help you quickly and with this create interactive model of your urban designs. Let's get started. One of the common ways of how to start when generating a 3D model of your design is to import a 2D drawing into SketchUp. SketchUp supports different kinds of imports. Right here we are going to import a simple line work in DWG file that I produced in AutoCAD. So, let's say you have a basic 2D plan of your site, city blocks of parcels, some roads, urban morphology of existing urban tissue, etc., and you want to create a 3D model. In SketchUp, I'll go to File, Import, and import the file with my AutoCAD line work. Select preferred options here in Options and click Import. Every time you bring it in, it's one component. So first I'm going to explode it. Right-click and explode. As you can see now, I can click on those individual components. Now, obviously, I got my plan in 2D geometry of lines. They're outlining city blocks or buildings. First, I want to create city blocks. Upon the import of my DWG file into SketchUp, the 2D geometry is automatically organized in SketchUp text according to the AutoCAD layers of the drawing. This makes it easy for me to hide now all the layers that I don't need. So I'm hiding the roads, pavements, existing buildings, and I'm leaving the city blocks right here. Now we are ready for Modelur. It is really simple to create city blocks using it. First, let's run the Modelur. Now, I'll just select line work here and click on this Create City Block button here. As you can see, Modelur automatically created city block spaces. City block is a horizontal element to represent group of parcels, usually bounded by streets and constrained by the same set of regulations. In Modelur, there are two basic ways to create a city block. You can draw a face, make sure it's selected and click Create City Block. This will turn the face into a SketchUp group that represents a city block. If you don't select anything and click on Create City Block, Modelur will switch to Line Tool, so you can draw a face of any shape and when you close the loop, city block will be created. Just make sure that the face is planar. Modelur also allows you to create a city block by selecting only one edge of a closed loop. For that, you have to mark Option from one edge in the Option tab. In our case, we have already created few of the city blocks on the location. I'll just go here and switch on all the other tags of roads and context morphology back on. Those city blocks can be different in terms of land use and other urban design parameters. Let's specify those parameters for each specific city block of our development. As you can see under the Whole Plot Modelur tab, the default land use is set to residential. Therefore, this land use is automatically attributed to created city blocks. If you want to change the parameters of a specific city block, select it and head over to the City Block tab. Here, under the land use, you can change the land use of a city block accordingly. Let's specify the land uses of our city blocks. For example, let's leave this city block for residential use, set this one to service, this one to parking, and let the land use of this one be industry. You can of course add custom land uses, so you are completely free to design according to the needs. Add a new land use here in the tab Land Use. You can select its custom name, color, and set the parameters such as units, parking and green areas, assessed investment, and others. To move further, here in the City Block tab, you can name the city block. That will help you to be more organized working on the model and set a variety of urban parameters that apply for a specific city block, such as maximum permitted floor area ratio, site coverage, maximum permitted building height, distance between the buildings, etc. Let's define those parameters for our city blocks here. To do so, I'm selecting a city block and set the parameters that I want to apply to it. Setting higher maximum permitted floor area ratio and number of stories for this one here, and for example changing the minimum distance between buildings for this city block here. When you are working with many different city blocks, usually some of them will need to have identical parameters and it would be inefficient to edit each one separately. Luckily, you can use the sync tool that will synchronize all the selected city blocks. First, you have to select one or more city blocks and then click the sync button or picker icon. The picker tool will turn on and you can click on the block from which you wish to transfer the parameters. So here I choose city block with residential land use and match it with the previously selected city block of industrial land use. You can also use the Control key to inject the parameters of the last picked city block into specific city blocks. Let's go back to our original land uses. As we can see, we cannot move a city block because it's locked by default. If you want to edit it, you have to click right mouse button and select Unlock. Now we can move it, edit it, or delete it. A city block usually represents a group of parcels, so it gets locked upon the creation to make sure you don't move it by accident. If you prefer not to lock city block upon creation, you can go to Options and uncheck Lock City Block upon creation. Those are basics of creating city blocks in Modelur. Now let's move further and create buildings on the city blocks in our model. On this point, I'm going to show you 3 different ways of how to create buildings and quickly generate urban massing. First of all, you can create a default Modelur building by clicking on Create Building. This will generate a default building in the origin of the SketchUp model coordinate system in a default shape, and you can later reshape it. Modelur enables you to create simple buildings or complex buildings that are of mixed uses. Second way of creating a building is that you can use the Line tool and create a simple geometry of a building footprint directly on a city block. Let's try this here. You can then select the face and click Create Building. Modelur will generate the building directly according to your outline. You can then modify the building by setting the building parameters in the Building tab. Let's, for example, change the height of the first story for this building. If a building is set on a city block, it will inherit its parameters. And if you move it to another city block, it will change according to the parameters that are set for that city block. This way, you can change the buildings of your development automatically, according to the zoning regulations that apply to specific city blocks. This is only the base of creating building volumes using Modelur. Now, you don't always want or need to draw the outlines of your buildings inside the SketchUp. Another way is to generate buildings automatically from imported 2D geometry. Now remember, at the beginning of this video, we imported a 2D geometry into SketchUp, including those buildings' outlines. Now I want to generate building volumes out of them. To do so, I will simply select some edges of the closed loop that define those buildings and click the Create Building Volumes. This way, you can get from 2D to an exact 3D building volume in a matter of seconds. As you can see, the city block became red as I created the building volumes. That is because of Modelur is warning me that something is not in line with parameters set for this city block. If I go here, on City Block tab, I can see that the maximum permitted floor area ratio is exceeded. I can change that by setting different floor area ratio or modify the building to meet this set criteria. For example, here I'm making it higher, to 1.5. Now let's move forward and take a look at the third option of populating a city block. On this still empty city block, I'm going to show you how you can take advantage of a cool modular tool named Urban Massing Generator. Basically, what the generator does, it enables you to really quickly generate and test different design scenarios that comply with set zoning regulations. Well, how to do that? First, select the city block and go to the City Block tab, where you can find the Generate button. Click on it and Modelur will generate a new development based on the parameters of your selected city block. You can then go to Tools and open Massing Generator to bring up the user interface where you can set specific Massing Generator parameters. You can, for example, set the maximum building length, height, and mix of uses and its approximate ratio. Then you can click on Clear the buildings to clear the city block and click Generate to regenerate the development. Modelur will follow the parameters that you set and generate another development. You can regenerate it and change the settings over and over again until you are satisfied with the generated results. This way, you can quickly test combinations of floor area ratio, site coverage, the distance between buildings, and even mixed land use, all while staying within the boundaries of local zoning regulations. Now you know 3 simple ways of how to create building volumes and urban massing in Modelur. During this stage of design and during all the following stages, Modelur allows you to control and monitor a variety of urban parameters of your development, right in front of you on the screen. You can click to Survey tab and choose how you want the calculated data to be displayed. The parameters are calculated for the whole plot area, selected city block or selected building separately, and that gives you a full control of what you're designing. The data is calculated in real time. That means that you can change your design and Modelur will automatically recalculate the parameters according to the changes. You can change your design as well by modifying the building volumes. For example, use Slice tool to reshape the buildings. Use Push-Pull tool to create terraces and lodges. Change building parameters like number of stories and building use. And for example, use a Scale tool to quickly resize a building. Modelur works together with SketchUp native tools that can make your designing process real smooth. It will also adapt and recalculate your project data so you can fully focus on your design. Hope you enjoyed those first steps into Modelur. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to contact us. Thank you.